And for me, when I would come home, it was just like boom, all gone, and I'm just sitting here, and
It's stillness. Yeah, it's like you go from chaos to complete almost stagnancy, or that's what it feels like.
I'm Sal, play guitar for Ill Niño and Relent.
Yeah, what's up? I'm Iggy. I'm also in Ill Niño and Relent.
Wow.
And I'm Joe, and I'm not in Ill Niño or Relent, but I have plenty of connections to these guys through different means. So I tech for Ill Niño and a guitar tech for Ill Niño, and then occasionally I'm on the bass guitar for Relent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, I'm not in the band. I'm just, kind of.
He also plays guitar for
Sempra Service. Play guitar for them, and I
sometimes play bass with it.
Yes, and I have various projects going on, as we all seem to.
That's cool. I know what I'll do is I'll put any links for anything that you guys want to share in the description. So, yeah. So the reason I've gathered you all here today is we want to discuss probably the most important thing that no one seems to be discussing, and that's mental health in the music industry and how it is for you guys. And like as touring musicians, I think it's especially important to like bring a light to it and see what's going on. And
that's what it was. I thought it was just mustache.
Just mustache.
Well, the first half is going to be mental health. The second half is going to be
that's it. Let's start with like, how long are you guys on the road for? Like at times, or like what's kind of?
I think every year is like a little different. Because it's kind of sporadic, and not sporadic in a sense. It's like it's a month here, a couple weeks off, another month here, a couple weeks off, type of thing. Like this year, we start touring in July, and we're not home till like I think October, something like that. Like in between from July to October, we come home for like a week or two, and then but we're pretty much on the road that whole summer to fall run. So
that's wild. Like, how do you guys stay grounded in that? Like being out away from like family and stuff. Well, that must be. Yeah.
For me personally, I guess again, it's everyone's gonna respond different, but for the time I am home with my family, I try my best. My wife and I, with the kids, it's like to do everything we can together and spend as much time together as possible. That way, when I do leave, it feels like I never really left. Because there's been such an impact and such an intimacy at home that and I'm that's speaking for me because I'm a family man, but that's kind of my rule of thumb. It does. There's hard days, there's easy days, but that's really what I stick to, my pattern. I'm sure these guys got something different.
Yeah, for me, I'm not gone nearly as much as these guys are. I haven't had the privilege to be a regularly touring individual. So, but it seems like, I even more sporadically have these big opportunities that take me away from home for, like a month at a time or something like that. So it's just not as difficult for me. I also don't have, children or anything like that. I do have my girlfriend, Amanda, but, it's you just keep in touch with one another as much as you can, and it really hasn't been too big of an issue. Honestly, for me, the bigger issue of like keeping myself grounded is when I get home. That's actually something that I've always wanted to discuss with people, is that, there's a double-edged sword with being a professional touring person, so when you go out there, it's like you're on this high. You're living the dream, and it's just everything is like chaotic but fun and structured at the same time, and it's a circus out there, And when you get home, there's even a thing that people say that's called the post-tour blues, and it's a real thing. I'm sure that these gentlemen can attest to that. I would hate to compare it to like somebody from the military coming back from like a deployment or something, but sort of in that light where, you're just thrust into this craziness. And then when you're home, it's like, you kind of feel like something is missing, or you just have a hard time readjusting to just normalcy.
Is that the same for you, Sal? Or is that what do you find?
Yeah, I mean, I also don't have a family, like per se, like children or a wife. I don't even have a girlfriend. It's really just my mother and my brother, my only family back home. So if I talk to one of them, the other one relates to the other. So, and they're so used to me touring. I've been touring like heavily since I was 20. I even started younger than that, but actual like going out for months, like since I was about 20. And so it's a regular thing. But yeah, definitely the post tour blues is something that I used to struggle with bad. Like coming home, for me, it was like a real sense of like I felt useless, like I wasn't like doing what I should be doing or anything. It really was just replacing the high, like Joe was talking about, like you get to travel and see things, and you're also on tour with other musicians that are living in the same experience, so everyone's on the same page for the most part, and you're around the people that are doing the same thing you're doing. You get to play these amazing shows, even if they're small shows. It's still fun. Like you're getting out there to do it, and for me, when I would come home, it was just like boom, all gone, and I'm just sitting here, and
it's stillness. Yeah, it's like you go from chaos to complete almost stagnancy, or that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and like a lot of it's like a term called like thriving in chaos. Like I am one of those, and I got to a point where it was out of control when I wouldn't be able to be still when I would come home, and which led to like substance abuse and everything to replace that euphoric feeling. Try anything to keep that high going when I'm home, and I do prefer to be on the road. I feel more comfortable out there mentally. There's not a lot that can be thrown at you that's unexpected, really. It's like a controlled chaos, almost like what Joe was talking about. What can go wrong, you pretty much expect it. And when it does, like, okay, I kind of saw this coming kind of thing, It's hardly ever something like, whoa, what do we do? And when that happens, then we all band together and we help each other. But yeah, at home, there's way more things that come into play, that are harder to deal with.
So I guess then we could almost flip that question on its head. How do you guys stay grounded when you're home?
I think everyone's gonna have a different answer for this, but I'm a pretty spoiled man, dude. I have a beautiful family that I love dearly, and my wife's really like a backbone with all of that, And obviously, my faith is a huge part in that. But I still experience the loneliness of like, because music's such a big part of what we do. Like when I'm not around it, like I feel like, what the heck? Like who am I? I have those days where I'm like, and every tour you'll get home, like I'll get home every tour, loving on my family, and it's great. And like a week later, I'm like, I need to go back on the road. This is crazy,
It's like an imposter syndrome.
Yeah, it's so weird, man. And so, but I guess everyone's gonna stay grounded in certain ways. I'm a big family man. I love my family. And they're great, so they keep me grounded in that way.
I would say for myself, I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, Miggy.
It's okay. I'll hit you later.
All right, cool. For me, I feel like I don't do a very good job of staying grounded, but and honestly, it's one of the things that I struggle with. But part of my struggle, again, because I'm not as active on the touring circuit as these guys are. A lot of times I lose sight of things like what I've already accomplished or what I'm currently accomplishing. And so like, I think one of the ways that I attempt to stay more grounded and more sane while I'm not out there doing truly what it is that I want to be doing, which is touring. I try to find purpose and fulfillment in other musical endeavors. So that's, really the main thing is, really my girlfriend Amanda, again, she helps a lot with like kind of keeping me sane. These guys, I talk to Sal a lot, when I'm having a tough time mentally, he's been through all of it. So he's really good at kind of bringing me back down to earth. But yeah, like I run a business just from this room in my house here, and I fix guitars, I write music for people, I create music for myself and in the projects I'm in, record people, all that kind of stuff, and so that it keeps me involved in what I really want to do. It's closer to touring than not doing music at all, I guess, so yeah, that's what I think really keeps me going, is just trying to keep myself busy, keep my mind occupied and keep it occupied on productive things that are music related.
Yeah, I think staying creative seems to be a common goal too. Like when you're home, obviously just being able to get in a studio or just get on an instrument and just be creative, write music to kind of keep the brain going. I do that a lot at home when I'm not touring. So, heck yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the main things too. Like having these two guys, because we all three of us live in the same city. As far as our band, we're all over the U.S. So as far as texting and calling, that's pretty much the extent of that until we see each other. But yeah, I mean, I go over. We both go over to Joe's frequently to record. And just hanging out with each other. I personally, I love to clean, like keep the house clean, cook. I'm a good housewife. But, yeah, watching movies. I love watching movies. Just something to keep my mind like coasting. I don't do well when I'm too stagnant. I'm my own worst enemy when I let my mind take too much control. But trying to put a lid on that as much as possible. Just keep busy, really.
What's something about tour life that people don't necessarily understand or see?
It's all glamour and fun. 24/7, every second is just bliss. And
It's I mean, we love what we do. I think I have, and I say this to everybody, like I have the best job in the world. Being able to play music and travel the world, like that is such a dream come true, right? But at the end of the day, for us, we're normal dudes, and it's work, So a lot of times, like I guess fans don't understand that. Like, man, I played a show the night before, got off stage. By the time you got done with fans and talking and showered up, you're in bed. It's 2 a.m. Now you're sleeping through the night, waking up at 11 to make a 12 o'clock sound check. And you're just in this cycle of like, man, there's just this constant, we're working. Like we're not always just chilling, and
it never stops. It never stops.
It never stops. Yeah, you're always thinking about the next day, like, and it's just, but we're pretty normal people, and I think people tend to forget that. And sometimes fans set like a crazy expectation of you, and it's like, dude, like that's not me at all. So
the pressure of having to perform. These people pay money to see a show, and it has to be as best as we can do it every single night over and over again. And then like Biggie said, like we love to interact with our fans and to be able to have a good conversation with someone. And then like also like Miggy said, their expectation may be a lot greater. Like we're going to be 100% entertaining in every aspect, Like, we're humans too. We get tired, we get frustrated, we get sad, there's things happening at home sometimes, but it's not the people in front of us' fault. So we can't let that take over us conversating with someone, meeting someone, and that's a hard thing to deal with sometimes, Like I said earlier, imposter syndrome, it messed with me a lot in my early years, like I got to a point where I felt like I just created this fake person because I wanted to be this way for everybody all the time, and it got to a point where I didn't even know who I was anymore, That was like in my mid to late 20s, early 30s, and it was just bad. I let it take a hold of me. And keeping a balance of that is very difficult, but it's a necessity on our part and for the interaction with the crowd and fans.
I think to if I could piggyback off of what they're saying, I think people again, they look at it from this broad perspective and say like, man, just at the core of it, you get to travel and play music, and it's like the craziest thing, and it's super cool and fun. But yeah, like you don't see all of the work and the craziness that happens behind the scenes. And then also people maybe don't always stop and consider, like, okay, so somebody like myself, I've dealt with anxiety, and a lot of creative people do. And if you're having a bad day, like mental health day, and you're really anxious, for example, I've actually, not to call Miggy out here, but I've seen this sort of thing happen where, like, in a lot of ways, in his mind, he's not ready to go out on that stage, at least in his head. But what is he going to do? He can't call in sick. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that the show must go on, as they say, So there's things like that are just crazy, and it's uniquely exhausting when you're out on tour.
It's like one of those things. It's just like it's become popular. It's starting to become popular now, but you can't just have a mental health day, can you? It's like not like, yeah, you just can't.
There's no such thing as calling in sick. I mean, and especially, these guys are in a very serious band that has, clout and they're a legacy kind of band. So, the whole concept of the show must go on is like that much more present. And so, I've been there teching, and I mean, I really feel for these guys sometimes, because it's like, man, they might be exhausted. They might be getting sick, or already sick. They might be anxious. They might be a combination of all of these things, right? But guess what?
16 to be the one that's pretty consistent, because, one person gets sick on the bus, the whole bus by the end of the week, I promise you, is sick. And I've played shows, and I'm sure Sal has too. I mean, fever, flu, like, and back to answer the question that I think a lot of fans and people don't realize that, like, there's days we're up there and we have like no reason to be up there outside of this is what we do, because maybe they're sick or something's going on at home. There's all those things to understand sometimes.
Is this glitching yet?
Can y'all hear us or no?
No, it was just the internet was like being like that whole set. Basically, everything you just said, Miggy, was just like, just get it.
It just turns out this whole time they were like rolling us.
Yeah.
That's actually how I said it.
Oh, yeah.
He was waiting warning us the whole time.
But yeah, more or less, again, it's just like the overall premise of what we're trying to say here is that there's expectations set up for people like us, whether you're teching or whether you're performing. The show must go on, and it doesn't matter if you're having problems back home, unless it's an absolute emergency, like you're about to bounce from the tour and fly home. If you're sick, if you're tired, if you're like on the verge of having a panic attack or literally in the middle of having one, you can't say no to going on stage, especially if you're in a band like Ill Niño, like these gentlemen are, where it's a tough camp, man. I mean, you the show must go on. There's just no arguing it. So,
is there a way that you guys support each other through that? Is there like things you can do, or is it just?
I mean, I've actually, because a lot of times that I've seen these guys perform, it's because I've been teching. Sometimes it's been because I'm a performer on the tour as well. But if I notice the signs, somebody's like, they seem a little off, I'm a very like handsy guy, and if like there's been times where I've been standing side stage and Miggy will like look at me with like the deer in the headlights kind of look, he's kind of breathing heavy, and he's just like, man, like my heart is racing or whatever, And sometimes I'll just, I'll like give him a hug or like pat him on the back and just be like, bro, like, this isn't what we do. This is who we are. Like, just go out and be who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like saying stuff like that.
That happened on this last tour. There was a couple clubs we played in Europe that were, I mean, jam packed with like 400 people in a 200 capacity room, and like, dude, the humidity was insane. And that's another thing too. Like, we don't believe in like like putting on a half-ass performance. Like everything about us is like you're getting 150%. You know, the energy on stage, everything. Like no matter how bad we feel, like we're giving it all. But there's physical consequences to that, and there's days where I'm like seeing stars and like I'm screaming into a mic, and I'm like, yo, my head is throbbing right now, and you know, but it's you know that's rock and roll, I guess, you know.
But we definitely, like Joe was saying, we're all around each other so much that we could see the signs, you know, before the person is actually asking for help or expressing they need help. We see it really quickly, and we're all very open with each other and very you know, transparent with each other. Like we'll just right in your face, like, hey, are you okay, or something going on, or we know how to help each other. You know?
Yeah, there was a crazy time. I don't know if people noticed this, but we were Bloodstock there in is that in London? Is that London?
Well, you kind of got choppy again. You got choppy again. What did you say?
Oh, where's Bloodstock at? Is that in London?
Bloodstock's in is that
France.
No. Yeah, Bloodstock's in England anyway.
It's north.
Dude, that whole end of that tour, Sal had like basically a broken foot, right? And I remember seeing Sal dragging his leg like a zombie up to the stage, and we were just like, dude, how the heck is he gonna move? And there's just something about it. The song kicks in, and then you're just like, there's no such thing as a broken bone. But man, some of the stuff we've had to push through is insane, bro.
Well, Bloodstock was a crazy one. Our percussionist had a panic attack. He had never had one in his life, and he had one literally like 15 or 20 minutes before we had to go on.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything to anyone because he didn't know what was happening to him. And then it's time to go on. You know, the show must go on. Yeah, and I had injured my ankle, which I had started doing that. Like by mid to end tour, one or both my ankles were screwed up all the time. That was my own fault because I didn't take care of myself back then. But and I had not a panic attack, like more like a mental just breakdown. And like I literally almost just wanted to like walk away from the stage like minutes before we went on for whatever my own personal reasons at the time. And nothing was wrong, you know, and all this was happening and it was hot. It was extremely hot, and
there's like 1,000 people just waiting for you to come on
stage.
It's
like there's no saying no. You got to go out there and do it. You know, and it's back to like the people don't see this part of it. You know, like
it's kind of a nightmare. It's kind of a nightmare when you think about it. It's like, you know, every ounce of your being is telling you to like, you know, this is the flight side of fight or flight. You know, you want to get out of there. You know, but you know, with every ounce of your being as well, that you can't go, you know what I mean? So you're kind of a prisoner. And to be able to say that, like, we do what we love to do most, and we're so lucky, but there are times where we actually are sort of imprisoned in a sense. It kind of goes to show you that like nothing is perfect, you know, like there's pros and cons to literally any profession. And there's no exceptions given to performers, you know. It's really wild.
Go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, there's one more thing. There was a show we did. We had done 3 shows with Megadeth, and one of them was in Nevada, outside of Vegas, an outdoor stage. And Miggy had gotten sick that morning.
I got COVID.
Yeah, and it started.
It was so bad. It was the bad side of COVID.
Yeah, it started to hit him like about an hour before we had to go on stage. It started to really hit him to the point where we had to get the medical team to look at him, and we were literally go on stage, and he's leaning over the guardrail on the side of the stage, like panting, and he's just red, and he's already sweating. And I remember I asked him, I don't know if you remember, I was like, "Can you do this?" And he just looked at me and just nodded his head, and I was like, I was almost like gonna tell him, like, no, like, dude, there's no way you could go out. You're gonna collapse, and he did it. Like, it's insane.
Pushed it in.
What was that like for you, Miggy? What was that like? Do you even remember that, or was he just blank out afterwards?
Oh, yeah. No, I remember it. I remember it because Relent had a festival to play the very next day. And so it was one of those things where we played with Megadeth, and then I rented a car and drove to play the festival in Virginia, something like that. I forgot, remember what it was. And dude, I was so sick. Like I had like 102 fever. I'm sweating. I have the chills. Like, and I just remember being like, dude, this is horrible. This is crazy. But there's something about that first like downbeat of the song. I remember it. Like everything just goes numb and like, and in the back of your head, you're like, I'm gonna pay for this as soon as I get off stage. And you usually do. I think my body was completely depleted, bro. And you're so fragile at that point. Your mental state is just, someone can say anything as a joke, and that'll be the straw that broke the camel's back, and you're like, because you're just so exhausted, physically. And so it was rough, man. But we've pulled through some crazy stuff, man. But that's just, again, no pity on us. We signed up for it, but it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a lot of people put together to try to accomplish a common goal, like the more people that there are, and the more places you go and everything, it's like the greater the chances of things going wrong, even like people getting sick and stuff. But also at the same time, you have like 20, 30 people sometimes that are all working towards a common goal. So maybe, somebody might, upset you, like he was saying, or whatever, but then you have like 25 other people that are going to be building you up. It's kind of the beautiful thing I think about touring is that, most of the people that at least in my experience, most of the people that you meet out there in the bands and stuff are really good people. And, we're all just fighting to do what we love, and there's a serious level of camaraderie that comes along with being touring musicians. And, speaking of the grounding that you mentioned earlier, like that's just a huge part of it. Like even when you don't know somebody that well yet, let's say you've only been on tour for a week, you just have known these guys for 6-7 days, you still would say you're sharing a bus together. It's like, dude, you're constantly around these people and they're usually good dudes and, you're building each other up. So I think that sort of thing definitely can't be unstated.
How do you guys support each other when things are getting rough on tour?
So like as far as like where I really needed something from someone else, when I was I was guitar teching for all the bands on the most recent European tour with Ill Niño, these guys in Ectomorph and Mind Incision. There was a time we were in Germany, there was a lot of German shows on it, so I don't remember which city, but I had sort of like this, Sal would be able to explain it better, but it was like some kind of like breakthrough with my sobriety, and like I was bawling. I was like backstage, like just crying my eyes out to the point where like Sal needed to like, hug me, man, and tell me, that what was happening at that time was an important breakthrough in my sobriety, my sober journey. And then and then Sal also went out of his way. He and Tommy Vex. It was like the next day or 2 days later, we were in France, I think, and we had a chat in the green room, just like the three of us. And I think Laz joined, just by chance. But you know what I mean? Like they went out of their way to explain some things to me that I didn't yet understand, that they had learned through their own respective sober journeys. And, it was like a super impactful thing that like absolutely, I absolutely needed. I think I needed it more than I even realized at the time, But yeah, I was just coming to terms with like some ridiculous things that I had done in the past, and like how my abuse of substances nearly took music away from me. And I was getting really close to a year of sobriety at that point. It was like right around the corner. And so again, Sal, he explained it to me. There was some sort of like term that he used. I don't remember what it is, but like I sort of.
It was in recovery. It's called the pink cloud.
Okay, I was going to say that. I was like, nah, I can't be it.
Yeah, when you initially get sober, and it happens, it goes away is what it is. You're under the pink cloud, like you feel amazing, especially if you've been using for so long. And around a year usually is when the pink cloud goes away. It's like a safety thing over you. And with Joe, he was having a rough day, and it hit him how he associated those mistakes he had made that day with how he used to constantly look at his mistakes through his substance abuse, and it hit him in the sense that he doesn't ever want to be that or feel that way anymore. He doesn't want to ever go back to that, and he was associating with his current mistakes with that, and that's what broke his pink cloud. It is a breakthrough. It does happen, and people that aren't aware of it, it could destroy their sobriety. It could cause them to relapse, but it's part of it. It's a breakthrough in the sense that you realize, you finally understand how far you've come from your substance abuse days. And
Sal,
you feel it. Yeah.
Sal really, explained it very well, as I knew he would, because he saw exactly what was happening, and really at the time it was like there was some innocuous little thing, like I wasn't even in trouble. It was just like somebody was a little bit upset over something, and like my brain just like amplified it so much. But it wasn't, I think that amplification came from what Sal is talking about. It wasn't like I just amplified it just for the sake of it, or I was having a bad day or something, but I was like, again, associating it with how I used to be, and like how like some crazy things that I had done. It just was like, when you reach a point where you just can't believe the things that you did to hurt yourself, in the past, and it all just comes flooding in, and you're on tour thousands of miles away from your home and your comfort. I mean, herein is actually kind of a perfect example of what we've been sort of talking about this whole time, is that, I wasn't, even with all of that, me bawling my eyes out in the middle of me having a ton of stuff that I had to get done, show must go on, as we keep saying. Like, I had to like get through this like really sort of profoundly emotional moment and just get on with the damn thing. So, and
at the same time, trip out on this, that day was my 100 days sober. Earlier that day, this happened with Joe about maybe 45 minutes before Ill Niño had to go on stage. Earlier in that day, our guitar player, Jess, was having horrible dizzy spells, like out of nowhere. And Joe helped him out with that out of nowhere, just grabbed him and was like, hey, I want you to do this for me. I want you to sit down, and took him through some breathing exercises and everything. So in the midst of Joe helping out Jess, hours later, Joe comes under attack. And then I noticed and jumped in, helped him. And at the same time, I got surprised after our set with a cake for my 100th day. It's just like it's a constant circle of us helping and supporting each other nonstop,
Yeah, it's such a crazy thing. But this, I think, is a great example again of like exactly what we're talking about. It's like these are the things that, if you talk to somebody who doesn't even, especially like play an instrument, they've never toured, they just love music, and they think what we do is so cool and so fun, and all that stuff. I mean, they're not wrong, right? But you're never going to see somebody like that sit down and be like, man, I bet that, on any given day, this guy, that guy, help this guy, help. You know what I mean? Like, they probably just think that people are just like, high-fiving and, having a grand old time. And it's like, no, dude, like we're all just fighting to survive at a lot of times, it's just such a wild thing, man.
It's so funny how all that, like how people kind of perceive like this whole like sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing, and they see it like, because that's how it like seems, and that's the bits they see, but they don't see everything else that goes on behind it. And I remember as I don't really want to name drop, but I have to for it to make sense. But I was on I was out for a few shows with Korn and Limp Bizkit, and like the Limp Bizkit side of it, there was a whole crazy like party going on with like girls and everything like that. But then when you actually look in the room, Limp Bizkit guys are not even there. It's just these people that have like won a competition or something, and they're just, they're going wild. And then the Korn dressing room, you walk in, and they're like, someone sat there reading a book. There's someone in the shower, and there's like Ray, the drummer, is like just got like a glass of wine and just like, and I'm like, what? This is not Korn's dressing room. What's happening? Like,
Well, I mean, if you don't have a period of like solace and silence, like on tour, I mean, I don't see how almost anybody would be able to handle that. And I know that these gentlemen, especially somebody like Sal, who is a much more introverted and reserved person, generally, at least that's, you know, my opinion on it. I think he would agree. You know, it's he is a good example of somebody who, like, you know, especially now with his sobriety and everything, like he needs time just where it finally feels like you're not doing anything. Because on tour, even when you're just sitting there, it's like we say, you know, the bus is driving. We had how many people on that bus in Europe? Like, dude, it's 22 people on a vehicle at all times, you know? So even when you're just kind of sitting there, people are constantly talking. I mean, that's part of why tour is so exhausting, is that when you're not doing anything, you're still doing something. You know? So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times these bands, yeah, people think that they're probably it's just a crazy party. And sometimes it is with bands, you know, we've been there, but I feel like most of the time people are just like, they're being quiet. They're, you know, talking to family. They're playing a game on their laptop or something. You know what I mean? Just kind of checking out from the madness for a moment. So, but I really appreciate you guys having us on. It's great to chat with you dudes. You know,
you gotta do it. You gotta do it. It's for the boys.
Yeah, it's for the boys, but it's get zipped up on a Tuesday?
so yeah, it's like 10:41 on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate you guys, and I just I think it's important to just look into the behind the scenes of like what people don't really see. Like it's almost like the tip of the iceberg for you guys. Everyone sees the performance, but you know the 40 minutes to an hour performance, but they don't see the weeks that goes on before it.
Thank you for you know caring enough to bring this topic into an actual formal discussion. You know, I definitely appreciate it. I'm sure I can speak for these gentlemen as well. You know, it's a great thing to talk about.
You don't speak for me. I speak.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. See, this is how I stay grounded on tour. Really, just forget everything that I've said so far. It's just people razzing me all day long.
Nicky with an iron fist is how you keep grounded.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I gotta cut out of here.
All right, appreciate it, Joe.
Thanks a lot. Yep, take care.
Hi, Joe.
Well, bye. If I know how to stop this.
L for love.
I don't even know how. Well, okay. All right, goodbye.
What a legend.
Now we can talk about Joe.
So he's
Seriously, that
fired.
mustache has got to go. It's got to go.
It needs to shave it.
It's got to be gone.
Oh no, are we back?
Oh, there we are. Yeah, I think it was like you guys are using Joe's internet.
He just took all the white privilege with it. Now we can't use internet.
Now we're right on full brown speed connection. It's not 5G, it's 5B.
Is there anything else that you guys want to just like share that?
I don't know why I did that.
I don't know either.
No, I mean, you guys had a lot of great questions. Yeah, I think these people just would more realize like we're normal and we have emotions and bills and lives, and so just remember that when because there's days where it's like I've walked by somebody or and you don't give them your pictures and acknowledge everybody, but it's like it's impossible, so
yeah. And like, and also too, like if you don't see us hanging out or coming to the merch table, and this is with any band, don't take it as a
Oh, there we go. Back again.
Your internet cut out. We missed like most of that.
Oh, it's all good. But yeah, thanks for calling us, man.
I appreciate you guys. Hey, Miggy, man, you should bring Relent back. We should come out to Europe and we'll tour together.
With Berlin, I'm so down, man. Like I told you, I'll make the trip. You book the dates, and yeah, let's do it.
Cool. I like that idea. All right. Well, I appreciate it and I love you guys.
Hey, brother, I love you, man.
too,
So
man.
good seeing your face. Y'all be good. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care, man.
Send me sexy pictures later.
I will. Don't worry. You'll be getting them.
Love you, bro.
Love you too, man.